Good afternoon, you wait, hold on a second. Good afternoon, lads and lasses, and welcome back to Koality Time, our monthly podcast series, where we get to chill out and chat behind the scenes, answer some of your lads' questions, and so on and so forth. Episode 12 now. 1 year since we started this series, isn't that amazing? Still haven't got a single one out on time, including this one, because I've been having some more issues with the PC. Most of this video I had recorded about 4 days ago, and then I've had to not upload it until now, so apologies for that. Come to expect it with this series, don't you? So if you've been watching the previous episodes, you'd know that I've had some problems with online shipping thanks to the coronavirus. And I finally got a new webcam delivered and set up to livestream with. Hooray! My old webcam was pretty terrible quality, and if any of you lads remember back to episode I think 9 of this series, I said in that episode that I'd stopped live streaming for a while there because I couldn't keep up the quality thanks to both my PC and my internet connection. And with the channel getting bigger here on YouTube, becoming more serious, I didn't want those relatively poor quality live streams dragging down the average overall quality of, I guess, my internet presence as a whole, if you will. Well, for that same reason, I got rid of the webcam a little while back, when I beefed up quality of the stream itself and came back to live streaming regularly. It just wasn't good enough quality to warrant keeping it around, given what it was costing me in the way of the professional look of the rest of the channel. By that I mean YouTube, Twitch, Discord and Patreon. I keep my Twitter pretty informal, although still, thinking about a public image, but a wee bit less crafted, I guess you could say, and that's very intentional. I also try to maintain that sort of mentality with this series. It's kind of my allotted time to talk about different things that I wouldn't normally get the chance to talk with you guys about, and be more open as a person rather than as a channel. Now, I sold my old webcam to a friend thinking, well, I can wait until I get paid next, then grab either a much better quality one, or save up a little more for a couple more months and then splurge out on a full DSLR camera, which means I'm upgrading my camera I take to events at the same time. I can start recording more of those types of videos, because you lads keep requesting them. Got rid of the old webcam, and you can see where this is going. Turns out I shouldn't have done that, because next thing I know, COVID-19 happens. Yes, well time on that one there, Koala. Immediately everybody has quarantine to think about. They might be working from home all of a sudden, needing to do conference calls and what have you. And they bought out all the webcams. And yes, I do mean all of them. Once I had the money to be able to go out and get the webcam I was after, or a similar quality and price range model, I went out to our closest electronics store, and they had 0 webcams of any model, none left in stock whatsoever, and no idea when they'd be getting more in since borders were closed, and webcams don't really count as an essential item, so they were still getting through. We weren't in that dire of a situation where just nothing could be shipped in, but it was iffy, so they weren't accepting pre-orders. I tried other chains of this store, a few other camera and tech shops around the area. None of them had it, or any other webcams either. They were completely flush out. So I thought, alright, it'll take an era to arrive, but let's order it online. Well, I tried that. They didn't have any left either. Seriously, all of the online stores I tried either didn't have them in stock and didn't know when they were getting any more, or were given ridiculously large windows of expected delivery dates, which probably means they didn't have them in stock and didn't know when they were getting any more, but were still allowing people to go ahead and place an order anyway. What I ended up doing is having the store pages for the Logitech Brio, which is the camera I was after, bookmarked in my browser for about 9 different online stores, and was going back to each of them about twice a day, so as soon as anyone had the webcam in stock, I could get it. So about 3 weeks later, one store in the country, Scorptech, finally had the Brio in stock. There was one single Logitech Brio left. So I ordered it immediately, and that's what we're on now. So the Logitech Brio is capable of 1080p 60 FPS or 4K 30 FPS. It's a fantastic webcam. Of course, not quite on the level of a DSLR camera, and particularly with the lighting in this room, it's not looking quite as good as it probably should be. But in ideal circumstances, it's not far off what you get in video quality from a Sony a5100 or something similar, without having to take out a loan in order to afford one. You just have to be lucky with stock though. Fortunately I was, and I think I got the last one available in the entire country. They must have had a shipment come in, fulfilled all their backlog of orders. And then by the time I checked back later that day, all but one camera had already been sold. But the important thing is, we're now on a good quality webcam. Next thing we need is a light, because there is a light above me just on my shelf, but it's terribly diffused. I'm not even sure if it's better having it on or having it off, but then I'm not set apart from the backdrop. Either way, it has been fantastic to get back to live streaming and being on screen, hanging out with you properly like I used to, just with a quality webcam, especially since I went and paid for a whole bunch of overlays and such, including camera borders, for streaming on Twitch, so it's good to have a webcam which matches up quality wise. Ironically, I've just got done streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch, at the time of recording this that is. This video probably won't be out until tomorrow. We actually started the stream on YouTube, streamed there for about an hour, and then moved over to Twitch for the couple of hours after that to continue the stream. That was a recommendation by a YouTuber slash streamer called Harris Heller. He runs a YouTube channel called Alpha Gaming, all based around helping people grow on YouTube and Twitch. Really great channel, I've been watching him a lot recently. One of the things he says is that Twitch is very bad for growth initially because it's not really a browsable site like YouTube is. So one of the best ways to grow is to create content on other platforms like YouTube and lead those viewers over to Twitch. If you're like me, however, and YouTube is already your main platform for content in the first place, then you're getting new viewers on YouTube far quicker than those people are coming over to watch your stream. I still want to make live streaming a big part of the channel, however, so what I'm doing, and what Harris suggested to do, is every now and again, say once a month, stream on YouTube instead of Twitch, get those new viewers who might never have known you stream but just happen to catch you live on YouTube, and then about an hour into the stream say, okay, in 10 minutes we're cutting the stream here on YouTube. If you want to continue watching, then head over to my Twitch channel at the link down below. We'll be continuing there in about 5 or 10 minutes. And yes, before you all rush to the comments, I know Restream exists, so you can live stream on both platforms simultaneously all the time without having to worry about all this. But there are several problems with doing it that way. For one, if your live streams aren't as popular, you are actively hurting the rest of your content on YouTube. YouTube promotes your content based on average video / live stream performance, among a multitude of other factors like audience engagement. So if I were to stream 3 times a week on YouTube, I'm bringing down the average viewership and audience retention of my channel, so my videos get less promotion and the average comes down again. It's a vicious cycle. So I think doing it this way works best for me, especially since while my content on YouTube is getting fairly diverse with the topics we cover, on Twitch we're another gaming channel, which is kind of what Twitch was meant for in the first place anyway. It's a good way to split things up, and it's also better for branding later down the line, more from my perspective with things like sponsorships and partnerships, to have both a solid YouTube and Twitch presence. It also means I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, of course, so if one platform were to suffer, I have a solid backup already in motion. Perhaps I should start making some videos regarding content creation on YouTube and Twitch, specifically for this community, for War Thunder and the military community, because there are a few general rules of thumb that get tossed around a lot that just do not apply to the specific form of content in this niche area. It's very interesting. By the way, if you're not following me on Twitch, we do stream every Tuesday, Friday and Saturday, playing War Thunder. Today we played some World of Warships, and we may very well branch out with some other games in future. We squad up with viewers, have some discussions, chill out, listen to some music, and all around have a good time. So if you want to be part of that community, then check out the link in the video description and come join us on Twitch next time. So something I've been tossing up, especially with new Squadron vehicles coming out for War Thunder, is the idea of making a new, publicly available squadron. I do have a War Thunder squadron already called Clads, which you can join if you support the channel with either a membership here on YouTube or at least a $5 subscription on Patreon. I know that might come across as a wee bit of a shill thing to do, but I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have even bothered creating a Squadron at all in the first place otherwise. So it seemed like a fantastic thing to be able to offer Patreon supporters as a reward, and then in time I extended it to YouTube members as well. Of course, the Squadron had a different name back then. But these days, not only am I a much bigger channel, and it's kind of expected of the bigger channels to have a community Squadron, but we have unique Squadron vehicles and such too that we didn't have back when I made the squad. So I'm definitely thinking of creating a community squad for you lads who aren't able to support the channel on Patreon or YouTube, to still be able to join, play in squads on the Discord, grind out Squadron vehicles, and you're representing the community at the same time. I don't want to make the Squadron though unless there are going to be a decent number of people wanting to join, so if a Scottish Koala community Squadron is something you will join, then hit like on the pinned comment down below which says Coalition Forces reporting for duty. If we get a good few people who say yes, I want to join, then I will make that and announce it publicly in the next War Thunder video. Anyway, now on to the main topic of today's video. Have any of you seen what's been happening on Twitch lately? Well, that's barely even worth asking. Of course you have, you're on the internet. But to sum it up for anyone who isn't sure, copyright went crazy all of a sudden. Streamers, big and small, were getting DMCA takedown notices and even having their channels suspended for breaching copyright law by playing unlicensed music in their streams. Which, let's be honest, basically everybody does. In fact, Twitch even encourages it with the song request feature. What they want people to do is play music, all kinds of music, just like a radio station, and viewers can come along and hit !SR and name any song that they want played on the stream. I'm sure if you've spent any time on Twitch, you'll have seen people doing this. Well, that's technically illegal, and it's not the only illegal thing Twitch has been doing. Just like on YouTube, if you don't specifically have a license to use certain music and you play it, you're in violation of copyright law, regardless of if you pay for Spotify, regardless of if you've paid for the music itself, and even if you're making no money whatsoever on Twitch. If you haven't bought a license to redistribute the music, which radio stations have to buy for example, you can't play it without breaching copyright. Even if only a couple of seconds of the music are clearly audible because you're talking over it, or the game is playing audio over it most of the time, it's background music after all, you can receive a DMCA strike on your channel, and that's what a whole bunch of streamers have had in the last 2 weeks. Now, if any of you are streamers yourselves, or routinely watch VODs or videos on demand, these are the replays of the broadcasts from streamers after the stream has ended, you'll probably have noticed that Twitch automatically mutes copyrighted music when its automated system detects it. It'll mute the whole stream for the period when the algorithm finds this music, and then the audio comes back on again when the algorithm thinks that no more copyrighted audio is being played. So what's the problem then? Well, there are two. Number one, while VODs get muted, clips don't, regardless of how much copyrighted content is in them. And number two, Twitch's algorithm just isn't very good at detecting copyrighted content. If you're talking over it, or if the game is particularly loud, or anything else is disguising the music that's being played, it'll often let you get away with it. The record labels who own the copyright to the music constantly being played have never really cared in the past. As much as we know Twitch as being YouTube for live streamers, it was a very niche platform. Really, it was only big for gamers, and most of the biggest ones weren't playing music in their streams anyway, either because they knew it was illegal, or because the games they were playing already have music, etc. Then there are a lot of people who play music that isn't owned by big record labels, playlists from music creators on YouTube for instance, small creators. This kind of thing would probably be caught if you are playing it in a video on YouTube by YouTube's automated detection system, but you don't get notified on YouTube if your content is being ID matched over on Twitch. So people who create music on YouTube would have no idea if streamers over on Twitch were playing it in the background of their live streams, and the big record labels just weren't seeing a whole lot of copyrighted content being played on Twitch, so they never really bothered chasing it up before. But in the last year or so, and especially in recent months with COVID-19, Twitch has gotten very popular in more of a mainstream market kind of way. Now it's not just a place for gamers and the ever-present Bob Ross stream, but there are more artists, podcasters, musicians, and all kinds of other streamers creating content on Twitch and using copyrighted music, either just as regular background music, or in the song request format that Twitch's extensions previously have actively supported and encouraged. So all of a sudden it was worth these record labels cracking down and issuing DMCA strikes against channels playing that copyrighted music. And you might say, well, why? We're just using it quietly in the background to make our streams more interesting and enjoyable, and more fun if you got the song requests on and viewers can pick the songs they want to listen to. But it's not just that. You might know the YouTube stream Lo-Fi Beats to Study, that continuously plays a list of tracks almost like a radio station. And now I'm not sure of the legal situation there. They may only be playing specifically music that they have a right to play, with permissions from the copyright owners. They may get around the copyright issue through some loophole, or they may just be breaking the law but slipping under the radar and getting away with it. But that's what these record labels want to avoid happening on Twitch, people just playing continuous streams of music without paying for licensing or royalties, and allowing viewers to listen to it for free. And I'm sure exactly that probably happened sometime in the last few months, which spurred the situation in the first place. Now this is not in any way Twitch's fault, so don't go around blaming them, and in reality Twitch has zero authority to go around issuing DMCA takedowns anyway, they actually can't do it. Also, they haven't changed their terms of service at all, that's something I've seen people say. Nothing about Twitch has changed, they hate this happening as much as you do. This is the record labels, or organisations like RIAA on behalf of those labels, issuing strikes against your Twitch channel for infringing on their copyright, which, to be fair, you are. But what is Twitch's fault is encouraging this for years without telling streamers the legal implications of using their own tool, song request, relying on this idea that they were still too small for big record labels to bother cracking down on the streamers that Twitch were advising to do things that were actually illegal. It's always been illegal though, nothing has changed officially. What's changed is that the record labels are bothering now. This was always, at the very least, against US federal law, which Twitch is liable to even if you aren't in your country. But most countries' copyright laws would say the same as well. So realistically, you never should have been playing music, and Twitch never should have been encouraging you to, unless you want to pay for the licenses that radio stations do, but that would be outrageously expensive for the simple purpose of playing copyrighted music on stream. So what are the legal issues here? What can happen to you? Well, if your stream is playing music that is copyrighted and these record labels, third parties on their behalf, or more specifically the algorithms they employ, catch you, they issue a DMCA strike against you and can actually demand the removal of your Twitch account, in the same way that you get 3 strikes on YouTube. This applies to VODs and clips, which is why a lot of streamers have been lamenting that they have to go and delete all their old VODs and clips. But it also applies to your live stream while you are live, so don't rely on just playing the music regardless, but after every stream you delete all your VODs and clips. That doesn't mean you're safe. You're also not safe just because you bought a song, you have a license to own the track and listen to it, but you don't own the copyright behind the track and you don't have the legal ability to redistribute it. Copyrighted music in video games can also often land you in trouble. Lots of Star Wars games end up with this problem when they play the Disney-owned tracks in the game as they have a license to. But if you want to stream those games or upload them to YouTube, you're going to have to mute the music or risk a DMCA strike. Don't just trust that a musician behind the music said that you can use it copyright free either, because if they are signed to a label or partnered with any company that owns the copyright to their songs, the musician's word means nothing, it's not valid legally. It's also very important to understand that copyright free and royalty free do not mean the same thing, and actually the term copyright free isn't legally recognised as meaning anything. Copyright free music or content does not exist. The only music that is really copyright free, are tracks that exist in the public domain, such as music that is over a certain age, which I believe is 50 years, but then you have to be careful because if it was produced 60 years ago, the copyright owners can keep renewing their ownership of the copyright. But classical music from the 1800s or songs from World War I are usually public domain, as well as national anthems, for example, are all public domain automatically. What people generally mean by saying that their own music is copyright free is that they are not going to claim or strike you for using it. They can get their content ID matched, but they won't issue any DMCA takedowns against you for using it because they want their music to be available and safe to use. They still own the copyright to that music. It is copyrighted. They are just allowing you to use it as if you had a license. Which is why you can't take a copyright-free song, rename it and re-upload it to YouTube, or sell it as if it were your own song. They can still issue takedowns against you for that, and because the term copyright-free is meaningless to any legal authority, they haven't actually officially issued you a license to redistribute their music. This creates problems because a YouTube channel can release 50 songs all made by them and owned by them and call them copyright-free. 500,000 people see them, many download them and use them in their own videos, make them their intros and outros. But then 2 years later, the owner of that music decides they want to change their stance and now charge people for licenses to redistribute their music. They can do that and strike you, even though when you downloaded it, it was listed copyright free. Once again, that doesn't exist officially. Effectively, they can legally change the rules on you whenever they like, and you have no defense against that. None. Be careful. What they need to do if they want their music to be officially copyright free is have a lawyer draw up a legal document that anybody can download and sign with stipulations that the music is licensed to you for use and redistribution safe from copyright. Which is what a lot of creators have started doing, so if you're using music, check if the person behind it or the channel behind it has made a license for you to download and sign saying that you have the rights to use and redistribute the music. If they haven't, I would question using that music in the first place as you're on iffy ground. You can of course feel free to try and contact the person behind the music and ask them to draw up a license for you to sign. The bottom line, however, is if you have not signed a license, you do not have a license. You're still technically in breach of copyright, and if the person behind the music decides they want to issue a DMCA takedown against you, you're screwed. There are plenty of songs and playlists and albums that do list themselves as copyright free, because even though that term doesn't mean anything, it is what everybody recognises as meaning safe to use without fear of copyright violations. The one I use is actually made by that YouTuber I mentioned earlier, Harris Heller, who spent over $10,000 commissioning a list of hundreds of lo-fi songs, put them all into a playlist called Stream Beats, which is available on iTunes, Spotify and all the rest, and allows anybody to use the music on stream in YouTube videos without fear of breaching copyright, because he owns the copyright. Even if he didn't create the songs, the musicians themselves who did actually cannot issue takedowns against you even if they wanted to, because they don't own the rights to their own music, they sold them to Harris. He is also currently having a legal form drawn up so that you can download it, sign it, and officially say that you have a license from the copyright owner to use this music in your streams, videos, etc. You're actually hearing Stream Beats right now because I use it on YouTube as well as Twitch, and I'm very happy with it, so there'll be a link down below to the Alpha Gaming channel where you can go and get the playlist on Spotify and all the other streaming services, or download the tracks and have them as files on your PC, and boom, you don't have to worry about copyright anymore. Funnily enough, that's not the only legal trouble that Twitch has conveniently been able to keep under the radar. I actually had to have a good look into this recently when I wanted to hold a giveaway on my live stream back when the Twitch drop stuff was happening for War Thunder, and there were thousands of people watching these streamers who are used to audiences of a couple of hundred. I was giving away an Elgato 4K60 Pro capture card, which is about a $400 device, and so I wanted to make the giveaway available to subscribers only. Why was I giving away a $400 capture card? Well, I don't actually need it. See, I completely misunderstood exactly what it was capture cards like this do, and I thought that having it would allow me to record better quality footage and also upload streams more easily using less bandwidth because the capture card condensed the footage coming from the monitor. That was something somebody told me and they were completely wrong. Capture cards are also necessary if you're streaming using a 2PC setup, which the guy who I spoke to was and probably assumed I was too, or if you're streaming footage coming from a console through your PC. I, however, am using a single PC setup for streaming and only recording footage from that PC, so I effectively just made a dumbass financial decision and wasted close to $400 by listening to an idiot, instead of doing enough research myself. I thought doing this giveaway would be an awesome way to not only reward you guys, but get a little money back for the device without trying to either sell it privately, which I definitely could have done, or try and return it. It would also let me get a little back for it if I made the giveaway subs only, and hopefully encourage many of the new viewers present during the Twitch drop streams to stick around and support the channel and become regular viewers. That way I'd have a better chance of keeping the energy going from those massive streams. We hit just over 1,200 concurrent viewers on the Saturday, it was incredible. The thing is, subs only giveaways, even though loads of streamers hold them and Twitch has even suggested them in the past in the same way that they suggest using song requests, they're actually illegal under US federal laws. As with song requests, Twitch even has giveaway tools that not only let you limit the entries to subscribers only, but give subscribers greater odds of winning if the giveaway's open to all comers. And that too is illegal and could land Twitch in a serious amount of trouble one day. Limiting the giveaway to subscribers only means that participants have to pay for a chance to win, which under US federal law, which once again Twitch is under just like YouTube is, that counts as gambling, and gambling legally has to be regulated by the government. This is the same reason that loot boxes in video games had that whole series of shenanigans. Yeah, that's what we're calling it, loot box shenanigans, a few months ago. Because it counts as gambling officially, there are certain rules about how you have to conduct these types of things. Now, loot boxes, sorry EA, surprise mechanics, weren't illegal just because they were gambling, they got away with it on that account, but because they were promoting gambling to children. That's what got video game companies with them in their games into trouble, and forced them to either up the age rating in certain countries or just remove the loot boxes altogether. This is why loot boxes are always bought with a premium currency within whatever game they are in. You use real money to buy the premium currency, and that currency is what gets you a loot box, and it's through that loophole that they get to say loot boxes aren't gambling and get away with having them in the game even though it's obviously not regulated by the federal government, but it was considered to be promoting gambling to children. Twitch giveaways that are subs only, however, or giving subscribers extra chances of winning, something that these bots which handle the random picker for the giveaway actually suggest and sometimes have on by default, is against Twitch's own terms of service by definition, so who knows why they continue to allow it, and get away with it under US federal law, along with a multitude of streamers, even big partnered streamers, who do it all the time. Now there are ways to get around it and stay within the boundaries of the law, and without going into too much detail, I did actually give the capture card away to one of my subscribers on Twitch, but I had to be very careful about how I conducted it and particularly how I worded it. Funnily enough, the word giveaway is actually in the same boat as the term copyright free. It doesn't mean anything and legal bodies won't recognise it. Now, the Federal Trade Commission can't touch me directly because I'm not under their jurisdiction, I'm not American. But they can force Twitch to ban my account, which I obviously don't want. I did, however, manage to make sure I stayed within US federal law and still hold the sweepstakes, which is the correct and legally valid term for what everybody calls a quote-unquote giveaway, the way I intended to, and sent off the capture card to our Twitch sub, Kokomoto. But that's something else that Twitch not only advises but facilitates, despite it being illegal and against their own terms of service if you read the fine print. At the same time, there are a whole bunch of other things that people do all the time on the internet that are actually illegal, downloading songs being an obvious example, and a whole load of things that big social media brands do that are technically illegal as well, but nobody notices until it comes to a head. You might notice if you follow me on social media that I basically don't use my Instagram account at all anymore, and this is one of the multiple reasons why. There was a story on the news just recently about an Australian girl, only 18, who's a professional surfer on the East Coast and has an Instagram account with well over 40,000 followers. At this point, her internet presence has become effectively a brand. She works with sponsors by promoting their products in the same way that we do on YouTube and Twitch, and she of course treated it like a professional business. So she applied to Instagram for verification and received an email the following week telling her to click the link to verify her Instagram account. She of course thought it was completely legitimate, why wouldn't you? But unfortunately for her, the email was a scam from a bunch of hackers from Turkey who stole her account along with her email address, changed the name of her account on Instagram, and started spamming it with explicit pornographic images. This girl, her name's Blaze, reported to Instagram that her account had been hacked, and Instagram did what they do best. Absolutely nothing. Hackers do this to people whom they think they can get some money out of, either by holding a ransom on the account, expecting you to pay them for them to give you access back, and then leave you be, or to spam the account's followers with links that lead them to websites where the hackers make money. Now, Instagram has a method of dealing with this, but it's extremely poor and seldom works. When an account is reported as hacked, what Instagram does is quite possibly the most thoughtless and token method of customer service I've ever seen. They will email the address associated with the account with a security code and ask the reporter to send a photograph of themselves, then holding up a piece of paper with the code written on it. The thing is, and this happens quite often, the hackers also have access to the email account, don't they? So Instagram sends this code to the hackers. Luckily enough, Blaze was able to recover access to her email account fairly quickly, and to be frank, what she should have done is not even report the hack until after she had at least dealt with the email account issue. That way she could have prevented the hackers from getting access to the email showing the code, and sorted out the issue there and then. But upon getting access back to her email account, Blaze sees outgoing emails to Instagram from the hackers, with photos of them holding up the security code. Blaze obviously changes her email account security, passwords and such, and then sends an email to Instagram showing herself with the code they'd sent. Only to receive the reply from Instagram, in Turkish by the way, that they don't have enough evidence to prove that any hack has taken place and that they don't know what she's talking about. Now, not only is Instagram apparently finding it perfectly normal that they've got emails from multiple different people showing the same security code, so at the very least it's not overly secure anymore, is it? And that should be a reason enough to question the whole process, but one of the photos is from the 18-year-old Australian girl whose face was previously all over the Instagram account, the other from a bearded man from Turkey who's never been seen on the account and who has been reported as the hacker. Seems fairly open and shut to me. Instagram, however, thinks it's Blaze herself whose email isn't legitimate because she's obviously the hacker who's taking control of the email address of this Turkish man they've never seen before. Yeah, I know. Since then, all the emails from Instagram have been sent in Turkish, basically saying, "We have no idea what you're talking about, we don't think the account was hacked, provide us more evidence or go away." They won't, however, send her another security code now that she has access to her email account back, because they don't trust her, even though the account was under her legal name until recently, and yet has been continuously changing its name since the report of the hack, something they don't seem to find suspicious either. Holy fuck, Instagram. How can you be this stupid? Instagram also refused to comment on this story when it featured on Australian news, because they're an incredibly poorly run company, And that is just one of the reasons why I do all of my social media posting on Twitter, which you can follow at the link down below, and don't even use my Instagram anymore. In fact, I've been going through the process of removing it from the channel and video descriptions, etc. Well, that was a fairly serious episode of Koality Time, wasn't it? Let's finish with something a little more, well, not necessarily positive, but something I found incredibly interesting. When it comes to statistics, bias isn't usually something you'd think you need to consider, right? Statistics are purely mathematical, how can there be a bias? But I was watching a video recently that talked about a phenomenon known as survivorship bias, and here's how they demonstrated it. In World War II, the US were trying to work out where to put the most armour on their bomber aircraft. Obviously you want to protect them from incoming fire as best you can, but if you armour them up all over, you're significantly decreasing both their takeoff weight and their range. How they overcame this problem is by looking statistically at where most of the shots were coming in and placing armour in certain areas of the aircraft accordingly. It's the same way they define where tanks get the most armour. So, looking at their bombers that had returned from raids, they saw that almost all of the shots had come into the wingtips, the wing roots, the top and bottom of the central fuselage, and the tailplane. So the US Army Air Force naturally said, well, that's where we'll put more armour. And it was then that a Jewish mathematician from Hungary, a brilliant man by the name of Abraham Wald, who was working for the US after fleeing persecution in Europe, said no, don't increase the armour there, increase it everywhere else. The commanders of the Air Force presumably looked at him puzzled, saying, why would we up-armour the rest of the plane except for where our statistics are showing the bullets are most likely to strike? And Wald said, because those aircraft, they're the ones that came back. See, the statistics had been from aircraft returning from bombing raids, which is why they'd reported shots on the wingtips and the central fuselage and tailplane, rather than on the engines, the control surfaces, the cockpit, the central portion of the wings which were taken up by fuel tanks, and the fragile empennage, where most of the spars were located that controlled the rudder and elevators. Aircraft hit in those areas weren't coming back, and so they weren't able to be part of the survey. The statistics therefore didn't show where the aircraft were getting hit, because they were getting hit all over the place, but rather where an aircraft could get hit and still make it back safely. Which, if that sounds counterintuitive to you, then well done. That's exactly what the US Army Air Force thought too. This is what we call survivorship bias, or selection bias, that tendency to only look at exactly what the data is showing you directly, but fail to read between the lines, fail to see what the missing data adds up to. Wald saw that the bombers the US Army Air Force were looking at were the survivors, the ones that had been hit and returned okay. So logically, it was all the locations where they weren't getting hit that were the most vulnerable, because aircraft hit there hadn't made it back. This is why later modifications and later aircraft had stronger bulletproof glass, self-sealing fuel tanks, redundancies in the spars leading to their control surfaces so if one was hit, they could still control the aircraft, as well as more armour in those specific areas where the surviving aircraft were reporting not getting hit. Anyway lads, that is going to do us for today. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I hope my fellow content creators can stay safe on social media, and I hope you all leave a like, join the coalition, and always remember, keep a whiskey to hand, keep your kilt on, and I'll catch you next time.